From beautiful Jerusalem, welcome to this week's episode of Something for Shabbos on the Shmoozing podcast channel with me, David Goodwin, and Rabbi Menachem Salasnik.
Parashat 𝗥𝗯𝗯𝗶
Ray. Depending on how you pronounce it.
𝗥𝗯𝗯𝗶. Many things again, super long parsha.
Yes, long and packed with information and different things. Ray is talking again about the contract that we talked about last week. You know, you can choose. You have choice in life, good, bad, and if you choose good things will happen. Bad, not so good things are going to happen. Very much talking about the fact that you're going to enter a land where their morality is so unbelievably twisted to the extent that they take their children and burn them alive as a way to serve their gods.
Right. Well, we don't have really a modern equivalent. I mean, there are tribes in Africa.
We have a modern
maybe actually with Hamas
equivalent in some things, yeah. But perhaps
human shields.
Yeah.
Is very much
as you say, people putting their kids, training their kids to do this in the worship of some ideal.
It's not l'chaim, it's l'mavet, it's to death.
Yeah,
for sure.
But this concept is interesting because, in theory, you could say that if I'm so in love with this God, I should be willing to give them anything. So in theory, in a theoretical way, perhaps, but Hashem has told us that is not the way you're supposed to be. And on the contrary, you're supposed to be emulating me in the same way as I'm caring and giving and looking after. You need to be looking, first of all, your family, and then your neighbors, and then your community, and then the whole world. That is what you're supposed to be doing. And Moshe's warning them that
on that point, I often hear in conversations with people who are not observant Jews, they'll be like, when you say something to do with like Judaism, whatever, or even when you're talking amongst religious people about like the way of the Jews and halacha and mitzvah, and then they'll come into the conversation. Yeah, but you know that's how we view it, but the ones that are not like religious, it's different for them. But like, yeah, but it's not. Just because they're not doing it doesn't mean it doesn't apply. Same with the non-Jews, meaning it applies to you guys as well. How life is supposed to be. We're supposed to be the ambassadors of that message, but it applies to everyone. Just because we've decided to put on a scully and to fill in and be observant, it doesn't mean that we're like exceptional. We're just following the line. It applies to everyone.
It's true, although this is the parasha where we're called an 𝗥𝗯𝗯𝗶 𝗰𝗵𝗲𝗺. We are this precious jewel, beloved to Hashem from all the nations.
Right.
But yes, you're quite correct. I'm in touch with some wonderful Noahide communities.
Oh, that's cool.
Who have devoted their life to the truth. That doesn't mean they want to be Jewish. They keep the They don't have to be. They keep the 7 rules that were given to the children of Noah, without believing in any extra partnerships. Right. What we call partnerships, meaning the son of God or
whatever,
or some interesting prophecies from somebody. All they do is they keep those 7 rules and they study a lot of Jewish texts, and they're just unbelievable people who live their life in a beautiful way and connected to real truth. And what does it mean that we are a chosen nation? Yeah, I think more Jews have been killed under the label that we are the chosen nation than anything else.
Right.
What it means is that Hashem has chosen us for responsibility. Our job in this world is to bring His light into the world. That's not an easy thing necessarily.
That's the ambassadorship of the Jewish people. Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
But moving on, we've got this big section in the middle that talks about you're moving into the land. There's all of these negative influences, and there's going to be people, perhaps even from among you, who will try and entice you to follow these very twisted and distorted ways.
Yeah.
And there may be whole cities that start doing that. There may be people who are confused. And how do you stand up against that?
This is when we go into that, we're going to confront this. Hashem says we've got to destroy everything completely, but you're going to confront this. And he voiced it, he wrote it, or Moshe wrote it, whatever, to say, wait, you need to pay some attention to this because you don't be influenced
That's
by
right.
these people.
And look, they've spent 40 years in a bubble,
Right.
Living a very miraculous life. There's no way that a nation of probably close to 3 million people can survive in a desert without there being miraculous things. They had water on tap coming out of a rock. They had food falling from heaven. They had a protective cloud cover that kept them not too hot in the day and not too cold at the night. They were living this bubble of miraculous life without any outside influences. And Moshe is telling them, do you remember when you were in Egypt, how even though you were slaves, and you'd have every reason to not connect to the people around you because they hated you. Yeah, do you remember that? And you were still influenced by them.
Right.
You're now going into a land where
With the miracles that you just experienced.
you're moving into this. Don't think that you're not going to be influenced.
Wow.
Especially when they come to you as friends, because that's when it's harder, and that's what we are suffering from nowadays. You know, we perhaps we don't have cultures around us that are burning up their children on fires to their God, but I tell you what we do. We have cultures, and perhaps this is a little bit harif, perhaps it's a little bit strong, sharp.
Give it to me.
Okay, you can take it, but we have cultures that are very into sacrificing children.
Yeah.
Sacrificing children's innocence, sacrificing children's growth, spiritual growth, emotional growth on the altar of attention and you only have any real meaning in life if you are putting yourself on display, you know, the influences, all of this sort of stuff. People are bringing up their own kids within that culture. It's a very, very, very difficult thing. And perhaps they don't realize, I'm not blaming them, perhaps they don't realize that actually they are sacrificing their children's well-being.
They don't realize.
So I'm not blaming them. But in some way, we have to be aware, we who live in this Western world, we have to be aware that some of these influences and influencers are highly, highly, highly damaging for us. We need to be able to stand up to that and say, that's not for us.
Right.
Look, you know, I wouldn't call myself a particularly right-wing person. Most of my family get annoyed with me at how left-wing I can be. I'm probably center to center right politically. Okay.
You mean you're reasonable?
I believe that I'm balanced. Everybody believes that, exactly.
Yeah, of course.
But I think most people, not all, but most people have been awakened by how distorted and twisted the liberal world has become. They may not have realized it before, but when the liberal world turned against us, right? And suddenly they can't think straight. Yeah. And all of these people who believe in self-determination in your ancestral homeland, yeah, the indigenous people, right, the rights of the indigenous people, all of these concepts, the fact that racism is a terrible thing and everybody should have the right to practice whatever they want in their own time, and everybody's allowed their own truth. This is the world, the liberal world that we of everything, and everybody's allowed that except us. Okay.
That's been highlighted.
People are beginning to see that. They really are seeing that.
Shocking.
But what it should do, actually, is give us an entry to the fact that the whole way of thinking is distorted. You can't have your truth is true for you and my truth is true for me. And you can't have that, because all that does is lead down a path to complete anarchy. It doesn't make any sense. what we're told is that there is one truth. That truth is the truth that I have a responsibility to people around me. That is the truth. I have to make sure that my family, my neighbors, my community, and the whole world are doing well. It's my responsibility to them. It's not about rights. It's not about me taking. It's not about the way I see the world. There is one way of seeing the world, a truth. That's it. And what we're essentially being told here is that...
Hold on a minute. I've got to say
Sure.
That's the definition of relinquishing power. Rabbi Sachs always spoke about paganism as the worshipping power, because you're choosing your God, you're ascribing power to a thing, but really you're ascribing power to yourself. Hamas do it, Hezbollah do it, Iran, they're all doing that because they are desiring power. The Jewish way is the opposite. We know where the koach is, the power, and we're given access to the power to use, but this is the key thing is, like you're saying, we say it all the time, is the partnership, is the relationship, is the ambassadorship. It's not abuse of the power. It's not power for power's sake. So I think in all of that. And another thing is, when you were saying just now about the sacrifice of children in the other cultures, it's very important to say, and I don't think a lot of the non-Jewish people understand this. We are very moved when non-Jewish children are sacrificed. I don't think they fully understand. Jews,
Moved meaning we are upset.
Very upset.
Yeah.
We don't want any child. That's why this whole fiasco of the human shields in Gaza and wherever really hurts us. They don't know that. They don't know that it strikes us on a very deep level where we are very bothered, because really it's this week's parsha.
Yeah.
Hashem says, no, the children are the future. Sorry to be a bit corny with the phrase of that song, but they are. So therefore, anyone who's doing that to an innocent child who hasn't yet had an opportunity to really think about what life's about, and then is basically fully brainwashed in a negative way, it hurts us.
Yeah, it hurts us very, very much. People don't get that. They don't understand it.
They don't understand it.
So the message really here is can we stand up for our values when we're surrounded by those who don't have those values? Can we stand up for what is right? When with all of these influences around us, can we stand up for what truly is correct? And as you know, I speak a lot about the world of words, about Lashon Hara, speaking negatively. Can you stand up and be different when everybody is gossiping around you, and say in your mind, this is not for me? Can you, when you've got people talking and you don't want to listen, can you stand up?
Switch off.
Can you stand up? Can you literally stand up and walk out?
Right.
Do you have the strength of character to do what's right when everybody around you is doing their thing, which you think is really destructive? Do you have the ability to do that?
That's real power.
That is, of course, that is real power. 𝗥𝗯𝗯𝗶 𝗰𝗶, who is considered to be strong, the one who's able to control this desire, in this case, this desire to be like others. I want to be accepted. But there are greater things than being accepted, and that is doing what's right.
This show is brought to you by Dream Digital Art, the place to buy the coolest Jewish and Israel-related art pieces and products. As a schmoozing podcast fan, you'll get 10% off your online order with the promo code shmooze10.